everything right, it was you and me.
Hello friends, my name is Nayeema and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. I did not film a June and July wrap up, which means it is time for a recent reads video. I need to do recent reads. I need to bring you guys up to date, up to speed with what I've been reading, what I've been loving, what I've been not loving, and I'm very excited to do this. So I'm gonna have to be using Goodreads a lot. What did I read in June and July? Could not tell you, which is really sad. I'm gonna have to use Goodreads and we're just gonna have to get into all the books that I read. Without further ado, let's get right into today's video. Now I'm remembering you guys. I'm gonna collect all the books. I will be back. I read 4 books off my physical TBR, guys. Well, some of them I like read. No, only one of them I read and then bought it, so I don't know if that really counts, but 4 books off my physical TBR read. The rest was all ebooks and audiobooks. So spoiler, let's get right into it, starting with June. I read 8 books in June, so we're gonna start off there. The very first book that I read in June was Liars Like Us by J.T. 𝓫𝓬𝓬𝓲𝓪. I've been saying 𝓫𝓬𝓬𝓲𝓪 this entire time. My friend recently told me that it's 𝓫𝓬𝓬𝓲𝓪. That's gonna be hard. That's gonna be a hard adjustment for me. Liars Like Us by J.T. 𝓫𝓬𝓬𝓲𝓪. I rated this book 4.5 stars. I was so excited for this book, and honestly, it really lived up to the hype for me. Obviously, I expected it to be a 5-star read, but 4.5 is still amazing. I loved this book, and I recently went through and read like my annotations on my Kindle. I re-downloaded it, reread my annotations. I was like, this book was just phenomenal. It was truly phenomenal. So this book follows our heroine, and she is struggling. She is going through it. She owns a bookstore that her parents used to own. Her parents are no longer alive, and so it's been kind of her mission to keep this bookstore alive. She loves to read. It's a small indie independent bookstore. She lives in a very shitty apartment. Her friends' lives are all going downhill. Her indie bookstore is going downhill. She's a hot mess. She is just struggling. In the very beginning of the book, she's coming to terms with the fact that she is going to have to close down her bookstore. Why? Because in the same shopping center, a huge chain bookstore opened up. They're getting all of her sales. She takes out all of her employees to dinner, and she's like breaking the news. These are all like her family at this point, because they've been her employees for the longest time. And she sits them down and she's like, hey guys, bad news, I have to close down shop. And all of them are freaking out. They're like, this is all I have, like da-da-da-da. And the table next to them, the hero is overhearing this entire conversation, and he's like, she's a beautiful girl. I should help her out. I need to marry her for my own like inheritance or whatever. She would get $10 million to marry me, and she can, you know, move out of her shitty apartment and she can fix her bookstore. And so what he does is offer it to her. And I will say this book felt very realistic, because like she was going through pros and cons. She was like, this is so weird. Like I feel like in other romance books, like A Marriage of Convenience, like it's never really like thought about all the repercussions, and the girl's kind of like, oh, this is weird, but okay, I'll do it. No, she was like really real, and she was like, this is so strange, I don't want to do this, but if I am gonna do it, should I do it? And like, who is this guy? Where did he come from? He just came out of the woodwork. And it was so good. There is a plot twist. I feel like the plot twist was pretty predictable. Like I knew it from the beginning, but finding out the intricacies of the plot twist and finding out like all the lengths that this man did, I'm not going to spoil anything, to get her, I was like, oh wow, this runs deep, and it was so good, guys. I loved it. J.T. 𝓫𝓬𝓬𝓲𝓪 is one of my favorite authors ever, and I just cannot wait for the next book. I think it comes out in September, which is so exciting. I'm just all in all so excited for the next book. I feel like the reason why it didn't get 5 stars is because I feel like I didn't know much about the hero, but the next books in the series follow the hero's family, so I feel like I'll just be learning more and more about the family, and I feel like it was kind of written up that way, because I really am so kind of mind fucked. I'm so kind of like, who is this guy? But I know enough to love him, and I feel like I know enough that I could marry him, you know? Like, I love him. Everything about it was amazing, and I'm so excited for the next one. The next book that I read was 𝓼𝓸𝓬𝓲𝓪 by B.B. Reed. I had the ARC for this, and I rated this one 4.5 stars as well. I rounded this one up on Goodreads to 5 stars. I did do an author interview with B.B. Reed. It's in the live tab on my channel, so make sure you go check that out. I had the best conversation with her. She's so sweet. And 𝓼𝓸𝓬𝓲𝓪 was truly wild. I didn't know what I was getting into this book when I heard about this book, but B.B. Reed is one of my favorite authors ever, so I was like, I don't know where we're going, but we're going. We are going to see where this takes us. Boy, was I shocked. It was nothing. It was wild. It was crazy. We have our heroine Atlas, and she is moving to a small town because she gets a letter in the mail, and she just needs like a change in her life. She's quitting school for the semester, and she's just like, I need to just like take a breath and go explore. And she gets this letter to come to this small town. F it, I will. And so she goes. Right away she enters the small town, and she sees a help wanted sign at this auto body shop, and she's like, okay, I can be a receptionist. So she goes and applies for the job, and the auto body shop is run by 4 guys, and they kind of run the small town. This book is Black Love, which is great and incredibly toxic. It was so wild, so insane. There was a plot twist at the end that I was just like, oh, I'm uncomfortable, and I like this, but I don't like this. And it was the plot twist had me a little bit scared, but it all ended up being fine. I loved this book. It had me hooked, and I would highly recommend it. If you guys like toxic, if you guys like stress and gripping your Kindle, pick this book up. The next book that I read was Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood, and I just realized I like started tabbing this and annotating it, but I started like tabbing and annotating this book, but I never finished. So that's interesting. But Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. I rated this book 3.5 stars. It took me, guys, when I tell you I've been trying to read this book since it came out. I don't know what, I would get the audiobook and then it would get sent back, and then I'd get the audiobook again and then it's sent back, and I'm like, okay, let me read it physically, and then I stop, and then I get the audiobook. Like, that just happened probably 6 times, and finally I was like, okay, I've been reading this book for so long, let me just sit down and finish it. And because I've always had like 1 foot in, 1 foot out, going back to it, kind of like forgetting, having to replay a few parts, I rated it 3.5 stars. I really enjoyed it when I was into it. 3.5 stars is still such an amazing rating, but overall I didn't consistently love it. And if I did, I feel like I would have found a way. After the first time it got sent back, I would have read it physically from then on out. But I never had that urge to just be like, I love it so much, let me find a way to read it and continue. Like, that just never happened for me. This book follows Bee, and she is just coming on to this project for NASA. This guy named Levi works. They went to college together. Bee does not like Levi at all, because throughout college she felt like Levi absolutely hated her. This also has the "you've got mail" trope, because they both run anonymous, like, science-y Twitter accounts, and they're friends on those Twitter accounts, but they don't know that it's each other. This has all really just been like a big miscommunication. I personally don't mind miscommunication. I know a lot of people hate it, but I really enjoyed Levi because I loved how this is one POV. So I really did not know what was going on in Levi's brain at all. And I know a lot of people love dual POV. I'm impartial to it, but really I prefer when it's only the girl's perspective or only the guy's perspective, which never really happens, because you genuinely just have to trust whoever's talking and whoever's voice is in. I never knew what Levi was thinking. I obviously had hints and clues just because I read so much romance, but I would have thought, like, if I didn't read any romance and this is my first pickup of it, I would have thought like, oh my gosh, Levi hates her, like, he is not a good man. And then it would have hit me like that, and it would have been amazing. That's why I love one POV for that reason alone. It was really miscommunication. I thought that Levi hated her. I thought that Levi hated her, but really when you find out that he's been obsessed with her all along, it's just such a nice feeling, and it's so fun, and I really enjoyed this. 3.5 stars is still really good. I didn't love it as much as The Love Hypothesis, but this was still so great. The next book that I read in June, can you tell by my reaction and how excited I am to talk about it? Can you tell what it is? Can you tell? Any guesses? Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I don't know how. It's been like over a month, over 2 months? It's been over 2 months since I've read this book. I read this book in June sometime, and it's August, mid-August, and I just now got on Fourth Wing TikTok. I'm loving it here. Like, I love it so much. I miss this world so much. Every day I contemplate dropping everything and rereading it. I just requested the audiobook from Libby, and as soon as it gets here, I'm rereading this book. I loved it, guys. This is a new favorite. It's definitely going on my tops of the year, 1000%. And it's just nothing like what I expected it to be. fulfilled me. It made me so happy, and the second book comes out in November, so I'm just dying to get my hands on it. I did talk about this in my my 5-star reads so far this year video, but I'm gonna talk about it again. You guys, I don't even have to like say the hero or the heroine, like I can just say their names. It's just how you know I love a book, because that doesn't happen often. So Fourth Wing follows our heroine Violet. Violet lives in this world. This whole world is set up in a way of like 4 quadrants for this kingdom. You have the rider quadrant, and the rider quadrant basically defends the entire kingdom. They ride dragons, and the dragons also help protect the kingdom. Then you have the scribe quadrant, and they kind of record history, and they're like the librarians. You have the healer quadrant, who obviously is like medicine, and then you have another one that I always forget and I can't remember right now, but those are basically the main 3 that I feel like are talked about the most. We have Violet, who has always grown up thinking that she would be a scribe. She would go into the scribe quadrant. Her entire family has been writers except for her father. Her father, who passed away, he was a scribe, and so she is really similar to her dad. She's like, I'm gonna be a scribe, obviously. Her mom is a very famous writer. Her sister is a very famous writer, and her brother actually died being a writer. So she's like, that's just not meant for me. She is nothing like a writer at all. And so her entire life she's been training to be a scribe, and when it's time for her to pick a quadrant, her mom is like, scratch that. You aren't going into the scribe quadrant. You are actually going to be a writer like the rest of us. Like, you are going to be a writer. I don't care. And Violet's like, no. And she's like, I don't care. If you go into the scribe quadrant, I will pull you back by your hair. You will be a writer. And she's like, well, shit, I guess I'm a writer now. She has like a minimal time to train. We don't really see any of her preparation. The book starts off with her entering the rider quadrant, and she has to go through all these trials and tribulations, and people are dying left and right around her, dropping dead like flies. There's all these challenges to eventually become a writer. This is basically like a school, like she's training to be a writer in this book, and it's just great. So many people want to kill her. Before she goes into the rider quadrant, her sister is giving her tips, and she's like, stay away from 𝓲𝓸𝓬𝓲𝓪. 𝓲𝓸𝓬𝓲𝓪 Ryerson is one of the sons of the rebellion. He's in school to become a writer. Her mom actually killed his dad because the dad rebelled against the kingdom. Guys, I'm getting chills just talking about it. I love this book. And so her sister warned her, stay away from 𝓲𝓸𝓬𝓲𝓪. He will probably try to kill you. And it's just the best book ever, you guys. Like, I genuinely, this is the best book ever. I've never read anything like it. It lives with me. It's my favorite book, probably of all time, probably going to be. I just loved it so much. I don't know how else to explain it, but I did, and the hype is so well deserved. It's a romance between her and 𝓲𝓸𝓬𝓲𝓪, obviously, and it is just the best. Like, truly the best. 5 stars if that wasn't clear enough. The next book that I read was Brutal Obsession by 𝓵𝓵𝓵𝓬𝓬, and I saw this book going around on TikTok. I rated it 3.5 stars. This is a hockey bully romance, and I wasn't really vibing with it, to be honest with you guys. Like, I even rounded it down on Goodreads. I rated it 3 stars on Goodreads. But yeah, let's get into it. Basically, the book starts off with our hero basically almost killing our heroine. Our heroine gets into a car accident due to the hero. He is drunk driving, and then he ends up hitting her car, and because of this, her life is kind of ruined in her eyes. She is a dancer. She can't dance anymore because her leg is completely messed up. She was on the dance team at this university, and that she can't do that anymore. She had to take a break and go to physical therapy. Like, her life is ruined because of this random man's stupid drunk actions. And so when it's time for her to go back to school, imagine her surprise when this guy, who is actually awful, I don't like him. You guys know how much I love a bully romance. He wasn't it for me. He was not it for me at all. And also, people are saying this is a dark romance. Like, I'm sorry, just because a guy's an asshole, that doesn't automatically make it a dark romance in my eyes. But he comes to the school, he recognizes her name, and he's like, you didn't suffer enough. He's a very arrogant, rich guy, so obviously he got off easy, but he still feels like she took something from him by just driving. Like, he's the one who did the actions, but he's that kind of mindset, which is another thing that I just can't get down with in bully romances. It's like, you did the wrong thing, but yet you're going to, you know, like, leech and attack and be like, that isn't enough that you can't dance anymore. It's not enough that your life is kind of ruined. It's not enough. I want you to suffer more. And that's what he tries to do. He tries to ruin her relationships with her friends, with her boyfriend or her ex-boyfriend, who they're still kind of friends. Just everything, because he's obsessed with her and wants to ruin her life. It's like, if you're gonna write a book like this, I need it done well. I don't need plot holes. I need it to make sense, and it just didn't really make sense for me, and that's why I rated it 3.5 stars. I was so uninterested once I got into it. I was like, I'm just reading this just to read it at this point because I'm not enjoying it. The next book that I read in June was Done and Dusted by 𝓼𝓸𝓬𝓲𝓪. I rated this book 4 stars, and it was super cute and super fun. I believe this is 𝓼𝓸𝓬𝓲𝓪's debut novel, and it's a small town bromance. It was so cute. Heroine is a professional like horse rider. I forgot the equestrian. No, she does something with horses where she rides it and she competes. I don't know, she's a competitive horse rider. Has been going through a lot with her career. She like recently fell off of her horse, and because of this she is completely traumatized and scared to continue her career in competing, and she decides she's gonna go home to her small town and kind of just like reacquaint herself, take a break. She has a best friend who I'm so excited. I think the next book is her book. She's gonna stay at her family home. Her family owns this huge ranch, and she's gonna get her life together. And so imagine her surprise when she goes into the small town bar that everybody hangs out with, and her brother's best friend, she realizes, now owns the bar. He's super cute. He has known her his entire life, but now she's like grown up, and she comes into the bar, and he's like, that is not the little girl that I knew, and it's a romance between them. And it was really short and cute and wholesome. I really have no complaints about this one. I thought it was a really cute time, and I'm excited to see what else 𝓼𝓸𝓬𝓲𝓪 releases because I really enjoyed this one. Then I listened to the audiobook of Kissed Her Once for Me by Alison Cochrane. This is a holiday romance, and I read that in June. I was really all over the place. I had heard a lot about this book back in December, and so when I got my hold from the library, I was like, might as well. I'm kind of in the holiday. I'm kind of want to feel like cozy and warm, and that's exactly what this book was. It felt like a big, cozy, warm hug. It's a sapphic romance, which I don't read much of, but I definitely want to. It was very stunning. Basically, we have one of our heroines, and every year her Christmas has gone to shit. She does not like the holidays. She wants like a big family. Her family life sucks, and it's just never been like a good holiday season for her until the Christmas before the book takes place. She met this girl one day. I think they were like at a bookshop, and they spent all of that day together. It was snowing. They get stuck in a snowstorm. They spend the night together, and she feels like she met the love of her life this one day. I think it was literally Christmas Eve that day, until something happens the next day when they like wake up on Christmas Day, and she realizes that this isn't who she thought she was, and she's gonna leave and like leave her alone and never speak to her again. Fast forward, it's a year later, holiday season is coming around again, and she works at this coffee shop. One of the people who like owns the coffee shop, they come in, they kind of are friendly, they have a nice banter, but he needs a fake date for his holiday season for whatever reason. He decides to ask her, and I think he's gonna pay her or help her with something. She says yes, and she has to go travel to his like hometown with her and be his fake girlfriend for a little bit. There's a plot twist that I'm sure you guys can see coming. I didn't know what the plot twist was, and so I was reading it like, oh my gosh. But there's a plot twist, and that girl is now back into the girl that she spent last Christmas with, is now back in her life during this holiday season, and it was so good. The vibes were so great. I loved everything about this book. It was very cozy. The dynamics were great. I loved the family dynamics. It just made me like love my family even more. I love the main character so much because she really got everything she wanted out of the holiday season. A love of a lifetime, and then like obviously she's always wanted to spend the holidays with a big family that loves each other, and she gets that. It was just really sweet, and I highly recommend reading it. If not now, definitely in the holiday season. I loved it so much. The next book that I read was What Was Meant to Be by QB Tyler, and I rated this book 4.5 stars. It was super fun. The angst, the drama, the forbiddenness, the taboo. It was it was fun. Read some QB Tyler in the past, mostly her novellas, and maybe I think it was Forget Me Not, but I never continued to keep up with her releases, but now I definitely want to. This was so much fun. This is our heroine's parents' best friend, basically JP, who is the hero. The three of them met in college, and since then they've been best friends. He is in their kids' life, seen them grow up, and I believe it is her senior year of high school. She's 18, and she has a massive crush on JP. He gives in. It is so, I was so scared, guys. I was clutching my pearls. I was biting my nails. I was so nervous because I was like, this is literally her dad's, not only her dad's best friend, but her mom's best friend too. And so I was really nervous. There was lots of drama. She was also engaged, which also added to the whole forbiddenness because she was engaged to another man, and that's what made him like come home to her and be like, you aren't allowed to, who told you could marry someone else? Who? And so that, it was just really fun, really drama filled. It gave me everything I wanted to read, everything I wanted and more. The next book that I read was Eyes That Kiss in the Corner by 𝓲𝓬𝓬𝓲𝓪. My little cousin had this book at her house and I wanted to read it. I counted it. I don't care if it's cheating. Personally, I don't think it is, because reading is reading and picture books count. So yeah, this one was really cute. I had seen Chloe Bunny talk about it years ago and I was like, oh my gosh, my little cousin had it. And so I read it to her and I read it and it was very cute. It was super sweet and wonderful, and it's about loving yourself, and it's about loving yourself, loving your heritage. The whole thing is she has eyes that kiss in the corner. I don't know, it was really sweet and really heartwarming, so I loved it. I listened to the audiobook of 𝓲 by Alexandria House. I had read book 1 years ago in the series Them Boys, and I wanted to continue with it. It was a pretty short audiobook and it was so much fun. It was very hot. I thought that the dirty talk was great. There's a plot twist in here that I was not expecting. There is cheating in this, so be aware of that. But basically we have our heroine and she's in a really toxic relationship. He's pretty like abusive, and she kind of like runs away. She kind of runs away and meets this guy named 𝓲, and he instantly is like, I want you, and she's like, you can have me, because at this point I don't want my man to have me. So he does, and it's really hot and it's really a great time. She cheats. I personally love cheating. I don't mind it, and so if you don't, I would just be aware of that. I know some people had their complaints with this book specifically because of the cheating, but if you don't mind that, I definitely would recommend this book in this series. It's short, hot, steamy, and just a really good time. And also she's a curvy heroine. She's a curvy heroine as well, which is always good to see. And guys, I forgot to, like, I just realized I was just going down the list. So the last book that I read in June was What Was Meant to Be, and then my first book that I read in July was Eyes That Kiss in the Corner, then 𝓲, and then I read Even If It Hurts by 𝓲𝓬𝓬𝓬𝓲. I saw 𝓲𝓬𝓬𝓬𝓬 at Book Bonanza. I love her. She is so sweet. We had the best time together, hung out. Her and her husband, I love them. They are so much fun. They are so cute. And so I want to read more from 𝓲𝓬𝓬𝓬𝓬. I love 𝓲𝓬𝓬𝓬𝓬. I had read the books, some of her books in the 𝓲𝓬𝓬𝓬𝓬 Brothers. I really enjoyed those, and so I was like, let's get into Even If It Hurts. And I had seen McKay talk about it, and then also Nikki talk about it, and so I wanted to give it a try, and I loved it so much, guys. I rated it 4.5 stars, rounded up on Goodreads to 5 stars, and this was a love triangle, and I love love triangles. A lot of you guys don't, or a lot of people say they don't. I love it. I love the angst. I love not knowing who she's gonna pick. It's fun for me. It's a gamble. It's risky, and this just gave me everything. This was really emotional, and it really broke my heart sometimes. It was so cute. I loved it. And basically we have our heroine. She is studying abroad and she meets this guy, and that is the love of her life. They do all these things. He introduces her to his friend group. She has all, like, most of her first with him, and they just have the best time, and they fall in love, and then it's time for her to go back. Now, they try to keep up with their relationship for a little bit of time. I don't think they left like, hey, you are my boyfriend and you are my girlfriend, but they did try to keep up, you know, talking here and there, but as time went on, it just dwindled down and dwindled down and dwindled down. And she meets this new guy who is the exact opposite of her first love. He is rich, he is charming, just wants to treat her like a goddess and a princess, and he's so great. These men are both just so amazing. And so when the opportunity presents itself for her to go and work abroad now, she gets reunited with her first love. They end up working at the same company, and she is really in between a rock and a hard place. Like, who is she gonna choose? She loved that guy, and those feelings are still very much present, but she's also really in love with this new guy, and you see the dilemma, and I really had no idea who she was gonna choose. And I'll just say that I was very happy with their choice. I did cry, and I would recommend it. It was a really fun time. Then I read Heartless Hero by Mary Catherine Gebhard. This is book number 1 in her Crown Point series. If you've been here for a while, you would have heard me talk about it, but I have never read the very first book. The very first book follows a different couple, and then the second, third, and fourth book follow a different couple. So I went in and I was just like, let me just start off with the second book, because I know that the next 2 books are also follow that same couple. I wasn't all too interested in reading Heartless Hero, but I was kind of in the mood to just go back into Mary Catherine Gebhardt's world, and I found out that the audiobook was on Hoopla. I jumped in, and you guys, oh my gosh, I loved this first book. I rated it 4.5 stars, and I cannot believe it took me so long to finally read it. This took me on an emotional roller coaster. The hero is an asshole and he's a bully, but it's done in a right way where it just feels really good, but also awful. And it's like, it's believable why you hate her. Many people hate this girl. And so, I don't know, I just really loved it. There was a lot of drama. The whole Crown Point series is just drama, but it is the best type of drama. It is addicting, it's intense, it's crazy. And so, yeah, I listened to it on audio. Teddy Hamilton did it. I love Teddy Hamilton, and it was so good. It's definitely going to be a top of the year for sure. Theo is my new favorite hero. It's a bodyguard romance, like I mentioned. And yeah, I really liked it a lot more than I thought I would. That then prompted me to reread the entire Crown Point series. So I read book 2, 3, and 4. You guys know how I feel about this series. I'm not going to gush about it again. Maybe just a tiny bit. It is one of the best series that I've ever read in my entire life, and I truly recommend that everybody pick it up. The first one is Stolen Soulmate, then it's Forbidden Fate, and then it is Destroyed Destiny, and I reread all of them. Loved it. I loved it. It was so good. It hit different the second time, and all these little things that like I didn't catch the first time, I was like, oh my gosh, I missed that, and I just loved it more and more. So, and then I finally read The Bromance Book Club by Lisa K. Adams. I've been wanting to read this book since 2021, and I couldn't read it physically with my eyeballs for the longest time. And so when I got the audiobook off of Libby, I was like, okay, I'm gonna listen and read along. And guys, I loved it. I loved it so much. This is a marriage in trouble, which you guys know is one of my favorite tropes ever. His wife wants a divorce, and he is really struggling with that. He does not want to get a divorce from his wife. And his friends on his baseball team, which by the way, this is also sports romance. He plays professional baseball. His teammates, they have a book club called the Bromance Book Club, where they read romance books to either get a girl or fix a relationship or just different things. And they come together every month for this book club. They come together for this book club, and so when he opens up and says that his wife wants a divorce, they bring him into it, and they're like, we're gonna read this book, you're gonna win back your wife, you're gonna court her, and you guys are gonna live happily ever after. And that's exactly what happens. I thought this was so much fun, so cute, and I'm very excited to read the next book. Even though I know the next books in the series are quite polarizing, I am still very excited to give the other ones a shot. And then I read Unfortunately Yours by Tessa Bailey. This was 4 stars, and it was a very classic Tessa Bailey romance. I will say I liked it a lot more than Secretly Yours, even though they were both just so amazing. And naturally, it's gonna be hot. It's Tessa Bailey, so you know there's gonna be some steam, and it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. So this one is a marriage of convenience in a small town in Napa. We saw these two meet in Secretly Yours, which is the first book, and Unfortunately Yours follows the hero from the first book, his older sister, maybe younger, but his sister. And she is struggling right now. She moved back to the small town after things at her job didn't work out. She's a pretty like high-powered accountant or something with money, and something at work happened, and now she's back at home and she's trying to like reconfigure her life. And there she meets Gus. Gus is in Napa because he wants to open up a vineyard, open up a winery. His best friend had the dream of opening up his own winery, and when his best friend passed away, he was like, I'm gonna keep this dream alive for him. And these two get into a marriage of convenience for different reasons. He needs a loan from the bank to open up this winery, and then she also needs some type of money. Oh, she needs her inheritance early so she can start jumpstarting her business as well. And so they decide to come together, and you know, get married, and it's so hot, so fun, so enjoyable, so Tessa. It's just a classic Tessa Bailey, and I just love her writing so much, so I knew that I would enjoy it either way. And then I read Below Zero by Ali Hazelwood, and this is book number 3 in her feminist novellas. This took me 5 years to read it, but I will say that this is definitely my favorite out of the 3 novellas. A second chance romance, very sweet, very cute, and Hannah, the heroine, is definitely one of my favorite heroines from Ali Hazelwood that we've met so far. And now I think I'm caught up on Ali Hazelwood. Am I? Let me check. If her other books didn't come out yet, then oh nope, I'm still behind. I'm 1 book behind. I still have not read Love Theoretically, and I need to, and then I will have read everything from Ali Hazelwood. But yes, I really enjoyed it. It's definitely my favorite out of the 3 novellas that she wrote, and yeah, it was a good time. Second chance romance. I love a second chance romance, so it's just spot, and it was great and short and sweet, and the audiobooks were really good as well. The last book that I read in July was Meet Your Match, Andy Steiner, obviously. Let's just take a minute. Let's look at my tabs. Hopefully it can come off well. Already I'm like, you are embarrassing me. I don't think I have a single orange tab left in this house. It's not picking up how much I annotated this book, but I really annotated it so much. I don't have a single orange tab left. I love this book. It was Candy Steiner. Believe this is her first hockey romance, and I loved her Red Zone Rivals football romances, and so I was really excited to get into this, especially because I've been really into hockey romances, and this just ate. It was so good. I think it's probably going to be a favorite of the year, and it was probably one of the most different romances that I ever read ever. It was so much fun. This is an interracial couple. Our heroine is black and then our hero is white, and she works at this social media kind of like marketing company, and she is kind of conflicted about where she wants to go in her life. She does want to grow at this marketing company, but she often feels a little insecure about her job choice because her parents are people who just always volunteer. I forgot, there's a certain like organization for just people who do volunteering, and that's all they do. And so she's always felt a bit selfish for not wanting to do that. Obviously she cares about people, but she doesn't want that to be her main focus in what she does. At this company, she gets assigned to follow Vince, who is Tampa's newest hockey player, and he is an all-star, and he is very cocky, and her bosses kind of get together with this NHL team, and they come up with a deal to have a 24-hour all access into Vince's life. Maeve, our heroine, is going to be doing the all access. They're hooking her up with an apartment in his building. She has access to all the games. She has to be with him all the time, 24/7, and it's going to be documented and recorded and posted on Instagram. And guys, this was so good. I did not expect to love this as much as I did. These two do not get off on the right foot, obviously. They actually met before they were even like assigned to do this. They met in a flirty type thing, and he like rubs her the wrong way, and he kind of proves her like stereotype right. And also she's been very hurt before. She was in a relationship with this rich golf player, and he broke her heart, and now she's just very untrusting of rich people, especially if they're athletes. And it took some warming. Guys, this book was so good. I'm just thinking about certain scenes and him really realizing that he loves her. And on top of that, it's just like high pressured low key, because she doesn't want anybody to think that she got this job because she like is hooking up with Vince, and they're together all the time. And it was so different and so fun. And this is definitely going to make my favorites list for sure. I loved it so incredibly much. And that was the last book that I read. Like since, but also my last book that I read in July. I hope you guys enjoyed this recent reads video and had a good time catching up with me. Let's talk in the comments down below. What have you guys been reading? What are your recent reads? What is the best book that you've read recently that I need to pick up? Because like I mentioned earlier, I am struggling and I just want to read only good books. So help me out. Tell me what you've been reading down below and if you love them. I also want to film a video where I take like all the books that you guys recommend me and like react to them and read them and do a reading vlog for it. So maybe look out for that coming soon. Like I told you guys, I am motivated again and I just want to be filming and talking to you guys. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, don't forget to leave a big like and a comment down below, and also subscribe so you never miss another upload from me. I love you all so much, and we will talk very soon. Bye.
everything right, it was you and